waste like too much of your time getting into specific details that aren't relevant, but we have to talk about the most important things first. Tell us about your fur babies. Carrie Perrell, thank you so much for coming in today and doing this interview with us. We're really looking forward to it. So,
Thank you for having me, Ashley.
Well, and I think people understanding their candidates and knowing who they are voting for is such a big deal, and it's super important. And so I don't want to waste like too much of your time getting into specific details that aren't relevant, but we have to talk about the most important things first. Tell us about your fur babies.
I have quite a few fur babies. All of my animals, except for one, I guess, would be classified as rescue animals. And I have 2 dogs now. My oldest had passed this past summer, and I have 5 cats. And I also take care of some ferals outside. I have heated houses set up for them. I feed them twice a day. Right now there's a greenhouse on my front porch, and that's because it went down to the teens and I was worried, and so they have their heated house inside of a greenhouse, but that's coming down soon, neighbors, I promise.
That's amazing though. I know one time that we were chatting on the phone and you're like, oh, I gotta get home, I gotta feed them.
Our life does revolve around our pets more than, and it came more into focus when our oldest, or last child left home. Now there's no children who can take over, so our life revolves around the animals. So.
That's awesome. Okay, so for people who don't know, and I think your office is a little more self-explanatory. You're
Right.
the recorder of deeds, but like when you talk to somebody about, what's a prothonotary, they're lost. So
Right.
just tell us, if people aren't aware, what is the recorder of deeds?
Well, I think there are a lot of things that folks are not aware of. Yes, you record deeds there, but also satisfactions, mortgages, rights of way, anything related to land ownership or anything to do with land in Washington County gets recorded. And then you have a record. None of our records do we get rid of. So even when a person sells a home to someone else, that previous deed is still in our system. And everything is scanned in now. There is no, you don't bring us, we don't have it in a book any longer. Everything is online.
Oh, so is there like an online portal people can go on?
There is. Our software provider is called Landex, so they can go to landex.com. And if you were just going to get your deed, that's a fine way to go. But if you are doing more extended searches, you may want to come into our office because there is a fee associated with the time that you are on the Landex site.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people come into our office. It's also, if you misplace your deed and you'd like to see it, you don't need to have it in order to sell your home. A new deed is drawn up every time property is conveyed. So every time it's sold, a new deed is drawn up. But if you would like to see your deed, you can come into our office and get it for 50 cents a page. So it costs about $2 for most deeds for people to get a copy if they've misplaced it.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so your office hours.
We are from 9 to 4:30, and that is one of the changes I made when I took office. They had been closing for the noon hour, and I ran on it and I told the staff, I'm going to want us to stagger lunches. So we don't want people coming to our office at lunchtime and then finding out they have to wait for an hour to get inside to record a deed. They may be coming on their lunch hour from work.
Right.
We wanted to make it good for business of the county and also convenient for people. And in the first 30 days we instituted that. My staff has been great. They worked with me. I told them the changes I wanted to make and they were willing to go along with that. And now you don't have to worry about, is that the office that closes for now? We are open. You can recording does stop at 4, and then from 4 to 4:30 we finish verifying the deeds that we had in for that day and we balance our drawers.
Okay. I can't imagine, maybe driving from work, on your lunch break, getting there and being frustrated.
Right.
That, the office is closed there at lunch and now you have to drive back to work, angry that you just wasted your lunch break.
I wanted, when I ran for office, I wanted to be a servant to the people. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to have an office that is responsive to the people. I wanted to have an environment of cooperation, of politeness, of service. And I think being open during the lunch hour, is in line with those values and beliefs.
That's awesome. All right, so I want to get a little bit more into what you've done in your office, but first,
Okay.
I think it's good for people to know, like, what is your background?
My background is I've done a lot of different things, and sometimes I joke, and I won't say my age, but I still sometimes say, I wonder what I'm going to be when I grow up, because I've had a lot of different careers over the years. The first thing I did, which some people may be surprised about, is I was a court reporter. So the person that's in there, I was an official court reporter for a time, and also freelance reporter. When I was a freelance reporter, for those of you that are older, I met Valerie Bertinelli. That's a little side story. Maybe we'll say that later. So I did that for 5 years. I was a stay-at-home mom for a period of years. Was a co-owner in a commercial cleaning business. Then I went to school for nursing and became a nurse, and I did that at age 40. Wait, I'm starting to say age. I didn't want to do that. At 50, I got my bachelor's in nursing. Then I also got a real estate license, did real estate for a while, and then ran for office. And who knows what will be next.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. You've done a lot. So
I like to learn things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great though, because I mean, those are just different life experiences you can bring into the office.
Right.
You're relating to a lot of different people, different professions. I think it's great. You're just a cool person.
Oh, thanks.
All right, so you are in right now your first term.
Right, last year of my first term.
Okay, and so you're running for your second term.
Yes, and I am unopposed at this point, which is a very blessed position to be in, but I also want people to know I don't take it for granted. I am still out there. I'm still going to be going to events. I still take this campaign very seriously. I want people of all parties and persuasions to know that I run my office to the best of my ability, and I am there to serve the people. I have heard a lot of good feedback about our office. Even from somebody who told me they were a die-hard Democrat recently said, when I come in there, your staff is so welcoming and kind, and she said, you really have a wonderful environment in there. And I was very grateful to hear something like that, and I really thank my staff, because I know because of them, that's the kind of feedback I'm getting.
That's wonderful.
I was grateful to hear that.
Yeah, because I think when it comes down to it, obviously you have to run on a political party side
Right.
for your office. But when someone's coming to the Recorder of Deeds office, they're not looking for your politics.
Right.
They want to know, how are you doing the job?
Right.
Are you doing it well? Are you serving the taxpayers? So that's really good to hear. When you say you're running unopposed, what does that mean?
Well, as of now, there are no other Republicans running in the primary, and I've been told that there were no Democrats that entered petitions as well, so they are not running a candidate. I suppose it's still possible somebody could do a write-in in the fall. I don't expect that, but again, I want to earn all people's vote then.
That's wonderful. I mean, to me, I feel like that's a testament for how well you've done just in your first term. Because if you were doing a terrible job, they would be coming out of the woodwork.
Get her out of there.
Yeah, we need her out of here. And so that nobody's running against you, that's a compliment to you.
Well, thank you.
I'm
appreciative of being in this circumstances, but again, I do want to earn the people's vote. I continue every day to think, what can we do to improve the office? And we have made changes that I think is better for the public and serves them, and I think I'm doing it the way you would want somebody to do when they are an elected official.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, so during that first term, when you were kind of considering this, what really propelled you to want to run for this office?
Well, somebody had asked me, and I think they saw some of my social media posts, and probably the most common theme of my posts would be frustration when government doesn't listen to the people and they forget who they work for. We work for the people. They don't work for us. And it seems to be forgotten by a lot of people who get into office. And I thought, if I'm ever in there, I'll do this to the best of my ability and the way I believe. And this may sound, I don't know how this sounds to people, but I honestly think frequently that people fought, bled, and died for this country. I take it that seriously, and who am I to go in there and not do my best? I better be doing my best when I go in and am an elected official. If I'm so honored to be in that position, I don't want to disgrace myself, my family, my office. I want to be a good representative for the people.
And I think you are. You
Well,
really are. I know we've had those conversations before about, just how much people have given in sacrifice of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And any position, whether it be dog catcher all the way up.
Absolutely.
We should always be putting, the people first and making sure that it's not about us. It's not about, pushing our agenda, but it's about what's best. And I think that that's something
Absolutely.
that you've always strived for.
I have no ego in this job. I don't care about rubbing elbows with people. I mean, I would like to be in a picture with Donald Trump, I have to admit that. But I just want to just do what's best. And then when my time is done, go away, and hopefully the next person does what's best for the office as well.
Well, I think you're leaving a really good footprint,
Thank
there
you.
for people to follow in. So tell me a little bit about, so you campaigned, you were successful in getting elected. What was it like in the office when you took, when you first got in there, with maybe procedures and staff and what was the atmosphere of the office?
I think that the atmosphere, there's a little bit of apprehension, but I met with all of my staff before my first day of work, and I asked permission from the previous recorder. May I speak with them just for a moment or two? Because I think people in county government fear that the new person will come in and be a tyrant or fire them or something. And I told everyone I had no plans, and I never did fire anyone. And I asked just a couple of things from them. I said, I want to foster an environment where we are there to be servants, and that we are cooperative in how we work together and how we treat people. And if you have an issue, come to me. And if you can do those things, we will have no problem. And we have done well, and we get along well.
So explain that a little bit for people, because I don't think that everyone really understands that you're independently elected, and
Right.
you are the one in charge of your office and your staff.
Correct.
So maybe just explain that a little bit about, your hiring or how many staff you have and how
We
that-
are an office of 8, so we're not one of the larger, and that's including me. And 2 of the people in my office are deputies. The person who was the first deputy, she stayed the first deputy. The person who was, I believe, the second deputy, she chose to go to another office before I ever was in there.
Okay.
So I had 1 position to fill, and then we have 5 other staff members, so there's a total of 8. And my deputies record documents, and so does my other staff, and then the deputies have some additional duties that they do as far as like the accounting at the end of the day, and preparing the bank statements, and there are certain management things that they do.
Okay. All right. So just physically, the location of your office. So,
What's the worst with address? I need my business card.
So just because when Courthouse Square,
Right.
everybody kind of got migrated over to the new building, and I think that if someone hasn't been to your office in a while,
Right.
where are you?
We're on the 5th floor of that building across from Courthouse Square, and they were going to rename the building, and they did not do that. So I'm always forgetting what the name of our building is called.
Crossroads.
The Crossroads building. So it's 95 West Bow Street. You come up to the 5th floor. When you get out of the elevator, make a left.
Okay.
And my name, or not my name, but Recorder of Deeds is on the door. So
Okay.
520.
Okay, so, because I think when people come over, when they haven't been there a while, they're like, where am I going?
Well, we have a lot of people say that, and people that used to do a lot of business at the office haven't been there maybe for a year or two. They say, oh, you're over here now, and the prothonotary is now across the hall. We have Register of Wills on the 4th floor, so a lot of people are now in that building.
Okay, sidebar.
Okay.
Do we know what's going on with Courthouse Square?
Well, my
Is it
understanding
falling
is
over or?
well, my understanding is they're supposed to take it down.
Okay.
Yeah, there were. I don't know why. I think there had been some settlement issues with the building in the past, and now they've deemed it that they're going to take that building down. I don't know what the plans are.
Okay.
Are they putting a new building in there? I don't know what the time frame is. I think it had been scheduled for demolition. I thought October, when I had been off having my knee surgery, and I thought I was going to come back and it was already going to be gone, but there had been delays, so I don't
Okay.
know when that demolition date is.
But it is scheduled to be done.
My understanding is that building is coming down.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's good information to know.
Right.
Somebody's
Everybody all parks over at our building now. I think there's a few
okay.
people in the emergency 911 system that may still park over there, but everybody's been told now they park in the parking garage next to the current building. So if you come to that building, you would park in the parking garage.
Okay, see, that's
and
good.
come
That's
up to the
good
fifth
know,
floor.
too. Because, if you're trying to rely on street parking, that could be sticky.
Right, there is still on-street parking. If you go around the block, you'll find some,
Okay.
but there is a parking garage
Okay, all right, cool.
that the public can use as well.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about improvements that you've made to your office.
That's right. Made some notes.
Yeah, so I know you talked about changing with the lunch hour, which I
Right,
think is
which is a
fabulous.
simple thing, right.
Yeah, tell us some of the other things that you've been able.
One of the main big first projects that I did was institute direct deposit. And this is another thing I think people don't know about the office. When you buy a property in Washington County, you all probably have heard or remember you paid a transfer tax. A percentage went to the state and a percentage goes to be split between your school district and your municipality. We collect those transfer taxes, and then we have to see that they get out to the various school districts and municipalities at the end of the month. So we collect them for the month, and then the following month I now direct deposit. It used to be checks, so you'd have 60 some checks. You'd pay for the ink, the checks themselves, the postage, the time to stuff the envelopes, and also the accounting to me was not done in a way that I would do it in the way I do it now. I have four accounts that I'm in charge of, and in fact I just had an audit yesterday, and the exit meeting I guess they call it, and there were no negative findings in my office. Everything is done properly, and we had revenues coming in of I think around 26 million. So what I think of when I hear that amount is I'm responsible for not only 26 million coming in or more, also going back out. I feel like I'm in charge of 52 million when you think of it that way, to make sure it comes in the right way and then it goes out to the proper places. And I think that in instituting direct deposit made for much cleaner bookkeeping, not just for my office, but also for all those municipalities. And in fact, I worked with our software company to institute a report that gets emailed to them instead of me printing off and mailing a report. And it sounds simple, but it took a couple of months to get this done, and we had to even slow the speed that we were sending emails out. And so I hit a button now, and I walk away, and all of the reports are emailed to all our municipalities and school districts. They know what's coming, and they know within 24 to 48 hours that's going to be directly deposited into their account.
Fabulous.
It is
That's
a very
fabulous.
good system, and my books then are balanced in one push of a button. And everybody, the disbursements are made. I know exactly what went out. It's all right there.
I feel like the school districts and everything would be so thrilled to have that now.
I got a lot of positive feedback when we first instituted it.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. And it's more work than you would imagine. I felt like I was a project manager between 3 IT departments. Oh, and Landex that did it, they had never done this before with the auto reports or even the direct deposit. And they now use it as a selling feature for their company. They go to 3 different states where they sell their product, and I consider it my invention.
Yeah, they're like a patent right here.
No, I mean, I was grateful that it worked out, and I'm thankful to them because they didn't charge us anything for all the work they had to do to set up this program for this direct emailing, and that they now use as a selling point. They didn't charge us for all the time they spent to come up with that program, so I appreciate them.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
But I mean, that it's that type of ingenuity, that out of the box thinking of how can I better serve the people? How can
Right.
I automate this? I know this is side issue, but think about all the stuff going on with Elon Musk now, and he's talking about how antiquated these government systems are,
Right.
and things that they're finding, and I think that's kind of a little bit of that. Why aren't we just streamlining this?
Right.
Why can't we just make this a click of a button and
Right.
make this occur? And so kudos to you
Well, thank
for
you.
even pioneering such a thing.
It's probably why I'm a term limit person too. I had a maximum amount of time that I thought if I was, again, blessed enough to win an election, how long would I stay? And because I think you need new people to come in, if they have the right heart, that they are looking for ways to improve and to do better. And, I'm looking at all the ways I can. I'm always welcoming ideas for improvements, but, I think that's what I like to see an elected official. Come in, do your best, leave your mark, get out the door.
Yeah. So, do you feel like self-imposed term limits are something that you appreciate or you would like to see with people?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right amount of time is. I know some of our state reps, they only have 2-year terms, so what would be the right amount of time for them? Or, but I think senators and things, I don't like to see people in office for decade upon decade. That's just my personal opinion and preference.
I'm with you 100%. You just get stale.
Right.
You start to coast, and you're not, I think, focused like you are in the beginning. Right. It's just easy to lose sight of that. So you're still quite fresh. All right. Any other improvements?
Just a couple of other things that I think that the people would want to know about. Our records, if you wanted to look up and say, my great-great-grandma Bertha Smith, I think she had a farm in Avella, and I want to look it up. Well, our indexing just goes back to the 40s. There is a way to find great-great-grandma, but it's a little more complicated. I wanted to make it simpler, that where you can put in a name and you can go back. And so I did what I called a historical indexing pilot program. And we've already completed that. It has been uploaded. And I started with the oldest documents, so from the 1781 going forward to almost about 1800. And I wanted to work out all the bugs with it. And now you can see some of those historical documents. And I want to complete that loop. And I want to assure the taxpayers that though this could be a costly endeavor, it's not coming from my budget, it's not coming from tax dollars. The recorder of deeds per Pennsylvania law earns a commission on every deed that is recorded. It's $3 per document. And that's called your improvement fund, and that's what I used to. I also upgraded the public terminal computers, because this is how the economy in Washington County, we're a big part of it. People need to do title searches in order to sell the property and get title insurance. And I wanted to have properly functioning public terminals. So I've used money for that. I'm going to use money for this indexing project. I think not only will it help for businesses, but also people have a great interest now in genealogy and their history. And this to me will eventually close the loop. This will probably be, and I'm doing it slowly. I did a pilot program because I knew of another county that went all in and did it, and then they had some issues. I wanted to work out the bugs on a smaller scale project. And now this is going to be put out for bid actually in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm going to determine, what's the right amount to put toward this. And again, it won't come from my budget and it won't come from any increased taxes. It's money already earned in the office.
That is super interesting to me. I'm a history nut lately.
Right.
These last couple years. So that's really cool that I could go in there and start to dig into some of those older records.
Right. And the company that I'm using, if they are the ones that I use for the pilot program, if they end up being the successful bidder and going forward, one of the things that they're doing is trying to pull out documents that are particular people in Washington County that would be notable individuals and interesting deeds. And I have plans for in the future printing out some of those so that we can hang them on the wall and you can see some of the interesting deeds.
Oh, that's cool. That's
and if it's
really
not
cool.
me going forward, I'd like to lay out plans and ideas for going forward in the future. And I'm trying to think of what's best now to improve, but also what can we expect in the future and what will make things better.
Yeah, just think about linking that even with tourism, in Washington County.
Oh yeah,
being able to see some of those historical documents and say so and so actually lived in this house,
right.
or this is so and so's grandma's house.
Right.
That's really cool. Really cool. Anything else you want to share?
As far as the improvements, there's several things that we did, but I don't like to get too in the weeds for things. But as far as financial stewardship, I think that sharing that I'm not raising taxes. I've cut my budget. The money is not going to be coming from taxpayers or the budget. I consider that financial stewardship. But I also restructured the way the bank accounts were being handled. I keep money in an interest-bearing account until it's time to have it sent, rather than some of the ways it was done in the past. That, in addition to the increased interest rates that we are seeing now. When I looked historically, I saw the department made about $500 per year in interest, and I think this year we would be on par for about $30,000 in interest. I think we had more last year, total interest earned, and really it was just a little bit of restructuring the way the accounts are, and according to law, and doing things, the proper way.
That's fabulous.
Thank you.
Anytime that we're saving money, I think everybody's like, yep, I'm on board. You're doing good.
Right.
You're saving us money, you're not raising our
Right,
taxes.
right.
That's good. That's good. What
Thank
else?
you.
Anything else?
I think those are the main things. I wanted people to know about the historical project, about
Yeah.
the new computers. Those are the types of improvements we have made to the office to have it functioning well. I think those were my main ones. I knew I had like 6 or 7, but I didn't want to write them all down. But
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's amazing right there. You could stop right there. That's
Okay,
great.
thank you. There are other things, but I'm thinking, people get bored with all of that. But
No,
yeah.
I think that those are great. So tell us a little bit about like day-to-day operations. Like what are like the core duties? What does it look like in the Recorder of Deeds office on just a day-to-day basis?
We do have a steady flow of people all the time, and we do have documents that are submitted electronically. So my staff, sometimes you might come in and think, why didn't they wait on me right away? Well, they're working on a document that came over in the computer. So even though you don't see, so I did want to explain that to the public, even though you don't see somebody sitting in front of their desk, they are working with someone. And sometimes they can put that on pause, but sometimes they have to get to the right spot where it's a good place to save it before they bring a customer over. But that rarely happens because my staff is really on the spot. Somebody comes in the door, we pretty much get people in and out. You're usually only there for a few minutes depending on what it is that you need from our office. So I think we have a good system, and so that's done throughout the day. At 4 o'clock we start to balance our drawers. We prepare deposit slips for the next day. We make sure whatever's left, we have one person that does the verifying. Is everything verified? Did we balance? That's what we do our last half hour of the day. I start off the day, I have a variety of reports that I have to print. And these are all things that back up and that we can be used in our audits. So whether it's the state coming in or the county, we have reports we run on a daily basis, and we keep those filed monthly. I draw up reports every month for the controller. I do a breakdown of the funds for the treasurer's office when I bring funds down there. I also balance all 4 accounts on a daily basis. I may have already said that. I will also spend my time uploading deeds for that historical project. It takes a bit of time to go back, and we have maybe thousands of books that need to be uploaded, and so I can do that in my free time. Upload that for the
Free
indexing
time.
project, which could take a couple of years actually to get all that done.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned about an audit.
Mhm.
Is that something done internally through the controller's office, like once a year?
Yes, the
Or-
controller's office does one once a year. The state does one, I think, every 4 years. So or they can do it whenever I think they want. Nobody gave me the schedule, but when I first came in, we were audited right away.
Okay.
They did one almost in my first year, and then I haven't seen them since. So I don't know when they come and knock it again. I don't know.
Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah, but I'm prepared. Everything is up to date. Everything's ready. I created an Excel spreadsheet for the general account. I balance it out to 0 every month, and it's ready to submit when anybody wants to see it.
Yeah. At any point in time, you could
Correct.
be like,
Here you go.
ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. So it's like, you don't have spies waiting for them to come around the corner and you're like, oh my gosh, guys, get it together in
Right.
here.
Oh no, we have everything done on a daily basis. So
That's exactly what people want to hear, to know that like at any point in time, someone can come in here, they can look at my office and it's an open book.
right. And I am an open book as well. I think sometimes folks don't realize they can come and talk to me anytime they want. I would just say call ahead and just make sure I'm not out to lunch or in a meeting. And if you have any questions about the Recorder of Deeds office, come and see me. And there is something else I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Also, people, hear a lot about deed fraud. Can we talk about that for a
Yeah,
minute?
yeah.
And I do get that question occasionally, and people are worried about it. And so when I was running for office the last time, I did research into it. And a lot of times, even on conservative radio, you'd hear about this deed lock thing that you could buy. Well, there's really no way to lock your deed. That's sort of it's a misunderstanding of it. And the deed fraud that people are concerned about isn't really somebody coming in typically and taking your home or putting a fraudulent deed against your home. It's you'll see it when people own multiple properties and there's a vacant property, and a lot of the fraud has to do with mortgage fraud, and it's fraud against the banks that the FBI is looking at. But when you hear those statistics, that's more of what they're speaking about. You would want to be careful with somebody who is perhaps elderly or vulnerable in some way, and make sure that they're not signing things for people that they shouldn't be signing. And if you have somebody that's in that vulnerable position, just make sure you're watching. There could be that type of fraud, and sadly to say, probably more likely to have fraud within a family situation.
Right.
So we haven't run across anything in my office since I've been there where somebody says my property was taken from me. We've had I had a call one time about somebody saying, like a grandson signed something, or they signed something for them that they shouldn't have. I had a person call who got a postcard in the mail, and I did go down to the county meeting, the commissioners meeting, and made a public announcement of that they've put on Facebook to try to share the message. Somebody got a postcard in the mail that said deed warranty, so they called our office. Okay. And my staff looked up the number and saw that it was listed as a scam number. I went a little bit farther. I made a report at the Better Business Bureau, and I read what they said the scam was. In this particular case, they call the number and then they try to sell them something or get their personal account information. It's a way to steal from people that way. It has nothing to do with our office. You'll notice and I've only had one citizen say they've gotten this postcard. It didn't have a company name. It didn't have a company address. We found out was from Florida, but it was just a scam thing. And I don't know why they sent it to this particular individual, whether or not she was older, how they knew to target someone. But she was wise enough not to call or give any information, alerted us. And again, it had nothing to do with the Washington County Recorder of Deeds, but I still made a Better Business Bureau report and then made a public announcement of that. So again, that's probably us as family looking out for anybody who might be vulnerable, might be elderly. Don't sign things, don't call and give away your account numbers. But all it had was one word in there that was associated, just said deed on it, so that they called us.
So that's good information. So if something were to come in the mail, like that seems kind of fishy like that.
Call us.
Yeah.
Ask us first before you call anybody or ever give out we would never ask for it. And we don't sell any kind of warranties. People that buy property sometimes get warranties for their appliances when you're a new home buyer.
Okay.
But that's a whole different situation. Has nothing to do with your deeds or anything.
Okay.
I don't know. Scammers are going to scam. They always, if they would use their genius for good, the world would be a better place, and they wouldn't end up going to prison. I don't know why they don't just use their, again, genius for doing good instead of doing bad. But we haven't had a problem here in Washington County. I haven't been getting reports of deed fraud.
Well, I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that, but it's good to know that if something like that should occur, that they can call your office and you can, walk through and talk through any issue that they might be fearful of.
And we do have a record alert system, so if you want to sign up for it, the email address is rather long. It is through Landex, our software provider, and you can ask to be alerted anytime something happens with your property. And Washington County has
Cool.
Yes, they have a parcel ID number, except they've called it in the past fraud alert. I want to call it record alert or potential fraud alert, because if you don't, or if you do, or own the oil and gas rights underneath your property, and maybe one company sells the leases to another company, even if you don't own those rights, but it's underneath your property, you'll get a notification. So sometimes it's something harmless. It's a royalty has changed. It's a gas and oil lease has sold. And so you don't need to panic if you get the alert, and you contact Landex. We don't sign you up. You go through them, and you can call me or come to my office. I have handouts with that email address on it, or that web address, and you choose to be either emailed or texted, and it'll tell you. And then you call us and say, hey, what just happened with my property? Is there anything I have to be concerned about? And we can share with you what the latest thing that's been recorded is. If there, heaven forbid, if there ever was something that you're like, well, I didn't sell my property, I didn't do this, then that's when you can get in touch with us, when you would also then have to get in touch with police or your attorney, something like, you would follow up the follow-up steps. But again, that hasn't happened while I've been there.
Is that a free service?
Yes, it's a free service.
That's great.
Yeah, you will get alerted when anything happens.
I'm signing up.
Okay, yes.
No.
I'll make sure the next event we go to, I'll bring some of the handouts.
Yeah.
I'm changing the handouts because the handouts from the previous administration, said it was identity protection. I don't consider it that. I feel like the flyer overpromises, so I want to create a new flyer that just says, this is a record alert system. If anything happens with your deed, you'll be alerted. But the email address is still good, so I can bring the flyer for that purpose.
I think with everything going on with our area in particular, with all of the drilling, the oil and gas stuff going here, I think that is valuable information that people, would want to know what's going on under my feet.
Right.
As far as all that goes, is your office buzzing with all of the different oil and gas leases? Does that kind of come through you at all?
Oh, it does come through us, and sometimes it's a big source of revenue for the county when there are big, what they call them units, and there's a lot of action on a particular oil and gas company, whether it's a royalty thing or a sale of leases, that'll come through. I think there was probably more of a buzz a few years ago. Remember when you drove everywhere and you'd see white trucks everywhere?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved the fact that we had all of these young people with good paying jobs that could support their families, and I just thought, look at this economy go. I want things done safely and properly, but I was excited to see for these young people a new source of income for them and prosperity and living the American dream. I loved it when I saw all the trucks around.
Yeah. And, how much of that is coming through your office? Do people still coming in person to do a lot of that work, or is that more on the computer side?
Well, they save money by coming in. So we do have some people that work there. We have title searchers. We have people that are just searching for oil and gas. One of our longtime searchers that's there, I spoke to her yesterday. She was doing old coal research and going back, and it can be rather complicated. It's why when somebody asks us about oil and gas rights and things, we suggest that they get an expert to help them, because it can be complicated in reading through leases to see if you have rights. It's not something my staff is trained, or we're not attorneys, so we would say probably get professional guidance if you are really trying to find out more information about your particular oil and gas situation.
Yeah, I think that's a question that a lot of people are kind of wondering now,
Right.
especially we're in the Trump economy where it's drill baby drill, and so people are anxious to make sure that that's available to them, that they're getting their royalty checks, all of that. Is my property still available for lease? Do I own my mineral rights?
Right.
All of that kind of thing. So, okay, very good to know. They can come talk with you, at least try to get in the right direction of where to go with that stuff. All right. How about tell me about any interesting, funny stories, anything that kind of came across your desk that you were like, that's interesting, or that's funny.
I wish I had some. I think it's kind of a boring.
You're always boring.
Well, when I looked through some of the records when I was down in the record storage, and I think this actually pertained to the tax office, it was interesting because people had to list the cow they had, or the wheelbarrow, and I don't know if they were taxed on it. I know we had chattel deeds that you could get a loan based on, a farm, what equipment, things that they have. But there are some very old documents around that talk about things like, I had a pig and a cow, and, I found this go through, and I thought, wow, people, that's what they listed as their assets, and I think it had to do with, the taxes and everything.
Oh, that's so neat. That's so neat. And did you discover that through the historical documents that you're working
Well,
through?
I was asked to come to look at historical documents to see, because there were some that said they could be destroyed, and they were trying to assess whether or not it belongs to my office or the tax office, and I looked at these and I thought, no, we don't. These are for the tax records. And I am continuing to go. We have a new storage facility, which I think is great. I think it's a better environment for our documents, because even though we have a lot of things preserved, and you still have the right environment to preserve. We have books that are going to go on 250 years old. So we want to have them in the best possible storage. They're great people, Nikki and Jamie, and that handle our record storage, and they do wonderful work. I think they have a hard job down there, and I am in the process of going down. I'm going to start with one section and take pictures of it, and then I'm going to be in touch with the historical society from the state, just to make sure, do we still keep these? And there are different things called oaths, and there could be oaths of office, there can be notary oaths. Some of them you only keep for 10 years, and some of them I think are over 100 years old, which sometimes those are interesting to keep historical documents. And if they are something that we have to keep for life, we will keep them for life. But, also you have things that start to disintegrate. Do I need to get these preserved? So I'm going to start going down there. And there's never been a log of things that I saw. There was nothing given to me. Here's what's been indexed. Here's what has been scanned in. Here's where these are stored. I'm creating documents. I create documents in PDF form for all of the duties. And then I do one thing that's old-fashioned. I have, my morning stuff is laminated. So I take out my document, it's laminated, and I just go boom, boom, boom through all the reports I have to do. I will leave that behind for whoever follows me in the future, so that there's a blueprint for how things are done in the office. I think that's a duty. You don't want to leave the person hanging where you have no direction on how to run anything in the office. I even have my staff working on what they do on a daily basis. They all create their own documents.
Yeah.
My second deputy is creating it in a more of an electronic format. And, we keep adding to it, and I want to perfect that. And then I will have a printed version, because I'm old. I still like to look at paper sometimes. But, we will have the PDF format of what are the different things that people do there on a daily basis, so that, again, the office runs well in the event that I'm not there someday.
Yeah. That's going to be so appreciated for whoever comes after you. I've heard horror stories of people getting elected into different county positions, and there was nothing.
Well, that's kind of what I ran into when I got in there, and I did not want to leave that going forward. I think people think, well, I've got 3 employees that have been in there for over 20 years, and people have all the knowledge up here. Well, it needs to be in a format where other people coming in know what to do, and so we just keep creating things. This is how you do this. This is how the notaries are done. This is how the daily duties that you do.
That's so valuable, because, like you said, if they've been there for 20 years, they know all those little ins and outs.
Right.
So unless they want to work there, until they're
Until
brave,
yes.
you've got to be showing.
We have
the
to
next
pass it
people.
on, and we have to, and so I think I'm the first person to institute something like that in that office, and as well as I want to have a listing of like I said, where are the documents, what has been scanned, what needs to be still done, where can you find all these things. Beginning to create that as well. It's a lot to do.
It is a lot to do.
And I don't blame anyone, because, things were on paper, and then all of a sudden we went electronic. When I was a court reporter years ago, can I tell you one quick thing?
Yeah.
When I was a court reporter years ago, if somebody ordered an extra transcripts, I did a deposition, and 2 attorneys wanted copies. I used carbon paper. So I'd have my first paper and 2 sheets of carbon paper in my typewriter. It was an electronic typewriter. People are going to go, oh my gosh, how old is she? And that's how you sold and gave out the other copies.
Wow.
And so for recorders of deeds to have 200 years of everything on paper, and then the last, several decades, everything's electronic, there's a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they spent a lot of time on scanning in things, and now I just see the need for further organization and further explanation of what happens in the office.
I just want to circle back real quick, because I got sidebarred.
Okay.
When you were talking about those records being preserved,
Yes.
is that on site? Is that somewhere else?
No, a company comes in. The previous recorder had books, they take them, and then first we scanned them in, then they took the books, and then they did their preservation. Like each piece is in a 2-sided plastic, and even those though are supposed to be stored at a certain temperature, a certain humidity. I think the new storage facility is much more conducive to keeping the records long term. But that's also something I think we as a society and the historical society needs to discuss, because someday they're going to be as old as the Dead Sea Scrolls. How long are we expected
Right.
to keep things and preserve them once they've been scanned in? That's evolving. The rules on that, the law for that. I just think those are the kinds of discussions that have to be had, because you have to consider how long can you keep a book.
Yeah. Is it local? Do you know?
The companies, I didn't do any of those projects. That was done before. I've met the vendors. They come to our annual conference that I'll be in June. And I think there's like one in New York,
Oh, wow.
New England. They come in, and I don't know if we have any centered in Pennsylvania. We may. There's different vendors, and we meet all of them when we go to our functions, our conferences twice a year.
So all the county recorder of deeds, you have your own?
Yes, it's the Recorder of Deeds Association. This year it will be at one of my favorite places. I suggested it, and they did it, and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to forget it, the name of it, the Summit Inn in I guess it's Fayette County.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the Summit Inn.
Oh,
And
gosh.
Perhaps I'll host one time, and we would have it here locally. But we all meet, and it's very valuable. I take it very seriously, and it's surprising how all of the counties have the same kind of issues. And sometimes my staff will say, well, didn't we do it this way before? And it gets confusing, because there's not a lot of written steps, and things have to be challenged in law.
Okay.
And to do things 100% everybody the same, it doesn't happen. And so concerns that they have are the same concerns that we have. There are 2 attorneys that come in that work for the Pennsylvania Association of Recorders of Deeds, and they share with us their legal findings and their legal expertise on anything that comes up. So we always make a list of questions for every conference, and then bring that back and share it with the staff.
But so the collaboration that's occurring there, are you guys kind of sharing ideas?
Oh yes, we have little breakout sessions where 4th class counties get together, 1st class, 2nd class. That's based on your population. And I think when I meet with 3rd and 4th class. And so we have a little breakout session where, again, we talk about concerns that we have. We get prepared of what questions we have, and then the attorney comes in and speaks with us, and we get to have those concerns addressed.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Fabulous.
And we always can reach out to them. People reach out every month. There's this person had this concern, they had this question. Hey, I want to alert you about this. There was some kind of, scam in another county, and they would alert us to something that they saw going on.
Oh, see, that's
We're on a
good
group
to know.
email, and we stay in touch. I
Yeah.
could reach out to them any day.
So,
Any minute, I could probably call someone and get answers.
So you're actually getting, real-time updates of something
Yes.
that might be occurring in another county. So
We
you
talk about the
can-
legislation that affects us. We even help propose legislation, and then we get to
Very
hear what
good.
the outcome is, and what
Yeah.
the status is of anything that might affect our office.
Very good, very good. I don't think people would realize that,
Right.
that there is a lot of collaboration. Okay, what maybe didn't I ask you about that you would want to share with
Oh, I
people?
think you got it all. I think you hit the main points. I think what I would like people to get from this is, if you have a question, come talk to me.
Yeah.
Come talk right to the source. I will share with you whatever I know. And if we can't get you the answer, my staff bends over backwards to try to send you in the right direction. We get a lot of questions that have nothing to do with county government. It's state. My staff has the numbers written down. They have addresses written down. Somebody wants something to do with their birth certificate, we tell them where to go. Anything that has nothing to do with us. A lot of times when somebody's upset about something, I always say send them back to me. And I can listen with an empathetic ear, and sometimes it'll have nothing to do with my office, but they feel better afterward. And I did that when I was a nurse. On the one floor I worked at, when I remember when there'd be a particularly difficult patient or family, or they were stressed, they'd say, Carrie, will you take them? And I'd say, yes, of course. And it was once, I don't like to say anything that sounds braggy, or because I'm not, that it was one of the skills maybe God gave me, that I can hear what people's concerns are and listen with an empathetic ear and help them feel heard and just resolve it and de-escalate.
That's absolutely true and vital in Washington County government. I don't know how things get crazy here sometimes, but you are just an even keel, steady office, no drama. Like, it's just...
It's not that you don't have challenges, but you know how I've looked at it since I've been in office? I feel like the American people, and I don't care what party you're in, I think we've all gone through a lot of stress. I have very strong opinions about how COVID was handled. I don't need to say those now. But I think it was stressful, no matter what side of the belief system you're on. I think people have gone through enough. So if there's something I can take on myself and just bear that burden of being stressed about it and working out a solution, I'd rather do that than, sometimes there's a fight and you have to be vocal about things, or sometimes you can't help it. You have to stand up for something. But if I can take it on myself and just work it through and, not burden other people, that's just something that's been in the back of my mind. I just think people have been through a lot the last few years.
See, that's your good nurse bedside manner, just kindness coming through about you. I love that about you.
Thank you.
All right, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes, go ahead. I'm ready.
Lightning round. Fun stuff. This is like the most important stuff to your campaign right
Okay.
here, so make sure you answer them correctly.
Oh boy, okay.
Salty or sweet?
Every night I eat dark chocolate that's salty. That means I like, it has sea salt in it, so I like both. I combine them.
I'm coming over. Okay. Dogs or cats?
Since I have both, they would be mad at me if I picked one or the other, so absolutely love both. And I love my outdoor critters. Rescued a possum this year. And a fawn, yes. Took a possum that was hit by a car to a wildlife rehab place, kept tabs on it for 2 months, and it got well enough to be released back into the wild. So,
oh my god!
And my husband's in on those animal adventures with me.
Oh I love that. Okay, favorite movie?
Favorite movie. I used to like this movie Willow. And
Oh my gosh, is that like he's the guy who did Star Wars, right? Is that that same, like, it's back from the 80s?
Oh yeah, it's old. I like Galaxy Quest. If you've ever seen Galaxy Quest, I like the plucky extra part. People who've watched it, they'll know what I'm talking about. And I was just in a murder mystery for my daughter's 30th birthday party this past Saturday, and we all had to act a role. And I realized quickly that I wasn't involved in anything, so I was the plucky extra. I had no really pivotal role in the whole game. I wasn't the murderer, the murderee, but.
See, this is why this round's important. Okay. Your no miss morning ritual. Something that you, every morning, not going to miss doing this.
I have such a long routine in the morning. I feed the feral cat outside, fresh water, fresh bowls, feed my animals, feed the birds. I sometimes feed deer, but I don't put it in one pile so that they're not, spreading disease. I give them a little snack here and there, and sometimes they come running out to me. And I guess taking care of the animals. I'm trying to fast now till noon. And then, so I don't have like a morning coffee or whatever routine. Just, it's a run around chaos taking care of litter boxes and cats and dogs. And then the greatest compliment I ever get is people come to my house and they don't know I have cats. So I'm very meticulous with that. So.
I got you. Okay. Favorite book?
I read several books a week.
Really?
Yes, I like murder mysteries. But a book that affected me, and if anybody's ever read it, is Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah.
It's, it really makes me realize what it's like to live under tyranny. And the book is so moving. I can't even say that I've read it all the way through. I pick it up. Sometimes the author is so moving, I can only handle one sentence. It's so impactful that I can only get through a sentence and I have to stop. Sometimes only a paragraph. Anyway, if anybody's ever read the book, when you live under tyranny, this will make you realize why it's important for you to vote, why it's important for you to stay engaged, and why it's important for us never to give up our freedoms and to fight for them. When people absolutely lose everything, it's horrific what they go through. So that's not an uplifting, fun. That's why I like the murder mystery books, because they're fun and light.
But you're right, though. People need to be aware of how much freedom that we have here.
That book will make you aware.
Yeah, I mean, we take it for granted every day, the freedoms that we have, so that's good. It's, do you know who the author of that is?
I want to make sure I say it. Is it Alexander Solzhenitsyn? If I say it.
There's no way I was going to try to say that because
that might be pronounced wrong, and I apologize.
No, that's fine. All right. Last question. You survived the lightning round, by the way.
Okay.
How can people get in touch with you and your campaign if they have more questions or maybe just want to follow up with you?
Well, I do have a Facebook page, Carrie Perrell for Recorder of Deeds, and I know I had a lot of people that I had friended or had been following, and then I lost access, but I regained access to that, so you can still put something there. I may miss it though, so to really assure that I get any messages, you can call my office. 724-228-6854 gets you right back to my office. And that would be county related. I suppose I shouldn't do something campaign related at my office. But if you have questions about the functioning of the office, that would be the number to call. If you have anything that you want to do about the campaign, again, you can reach me through Facebook. And my current Facebook that I have access to is CJ Perrell. So if you find me there, CJ Perrell, Perrell, you can send me a message there. I'll certainly see that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in today, Carrie.
Thank you for having me. I wish every candidate would do this so we could really get to know who it is we're voting for, not just based on signs.
I know. I know.
And
I know.
you don't really know the people otherwise, and so...
I know. And how many times, I've been there where I've gone in to vote and I'm seeing these names on the screen and I'm like, I have no clue who that person is. Just no clue.
I think you are doing an invaluable service. Amazing. You keep educating the people. So the WCRP executive board, you and everybody there is educating the public on everything about running for office. I want to see more people like me. This is the first time I ever ran for anything. Come out of the woodwork and come and run. We will tell you how. We will help you. I will help you.
Yeah.
If we have good people who want to serve in these roles and have some sort of experience, something relative to the office, I think there are plenty of us that would be willing to help. And I want to see people get involved, get to know who it is that you are electing. And I think you're doing a good job, and we're having a lot of awareness around the judge races now too. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest part, where I would go to vote and I think, I don't even know who they are. I don't know what they stand for, and I thought I was an relatively informed voter, but I think I could have done better on the judges. So I think your administration now is making it possible to get more insight into the candidates. I think it's great. I think other committees should be doing that all across Pennsylvania, all across the country. Yeah. Maybe that'll be the way of the future. We have social media. We should be able to hear more about our candidates.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I appreciate that because I think that is something that's so vital to making sure that we're actually electing good people. Who are these people?
Right.
What do they even stand for? Like, what do they do? What is that job?
Right.
Are they qualified to handle that job? Do they have common sense?
Right. And hold them accountable. Sometimes people believe so much in just, that's my party, I'm going to back my candidate. Get to know them. Have they served you well? Have they done the right thing? And if not, I don't know, sometimes I see parties just saying, we'll keep them in because we don't want to lose the seat to somebody in another party. Mm-hmm. I think we need to have good people, and we need to hold people accountable.
I'm with you 110%. Yeah, we do. And I think with Trump being in office, I think that we're seeing such a resurgence of people wanting to be involved politically. They're energized. They feel like that America is back. We're on the right track. They want to see common sense policy and principles, and they want to know that government is answering to the people.
Right.
So thank you for all that you do. Thanks for coming in and
talking. Thank you for all that you do, and I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks.